On one bleak Saturday afternoon in December 1930, a mere 469 spectators dotted the enormous terraces of West Ham Stadium in East London to watch the home side, Thames AFC, play Luton Town. In a ground built to hold 120,000, this sad-looking crowd set a Football League record for low attendance. A record that still stands to this day. Near enough. Luton Town's share of gate receipts came to less than 2 shillings, or £4 in future money, an amount so small it was sent in the post, and as legend would have it, was framed and hung in Luton's boardroom, a souvenir of their day out to one of the country's biggest stadiums. And this kind of encapsulates the story of Thames Association Football Club, a team founded in 1928 as a bold business venture to fill a gigantic stadium, but had as much success as a Michael Owen stand-up tour. In the late 1920s, a consortium of businessmen constructed the new West Ham Stadium in the Custom House area of East London, just north of the London City Airport, just south of the Newham Leisure Centre, and now the site of UK Wedding Cars Limited. Despite the confusing name, West Ham Stadium was not the home of West Ham United, who played a mile and a half up the road in Upton Park, also in West Ham. The stadium was built as a multi-purpose venue, intended to rival Wembley as a national sporting destination. The ground's design was entrusted to the Hans Zimmer of the football stadium world, Archibald Leitch, who you may recognise for his work at Highbury, Anfield, and basically anything with a football pitch in the middle of it. West Ham Stadium, remember not the one West Ham United play in, opened in 1928 as a greyhound and motorcycle speedway racing mecca, complete with huge oval track. Midweek dog racing meets regularly drew tens of thousands of paying customers, sometimes over 100,000 people in an evening, generating a fortune in ticket revenue, on-site betting, and jelly deal sales. Yet, for all its weekday success, the vast stadium sat empty on Saturdays, the traditional day for football. Rather than leave the weekend idle, the stadium's directors decided to form a professional football club as a supplemental income source. The logic seems sound. Londoners bloody love football, so why not host a team at West Ham Stadium to capture some of that crowd? Thus, in 1928, Thames Association Football Club was born, a club without an organic fan base or local history, created to earn a few more quid over the weekend. This was far from a novel concept. Multiple clubs had been created as a means to take advantage of an empty stadium. Chelsea Football Club were created to fill the void at Stamford Bridge, which we covered. Liverpool were founded after Everton left Anfield, which we also covered. And Sheffield United were formed to play at Bramall Lane, which we haven't covered. Yet. The main challenge Thames AFC faced was that the area was already home to several well-established clubs with loyal followings. West Ham United played just up the road and had a strong East End identity. Clapton Orient, or later Leyton Orient, represented nearby Clapton. Millwall drew support from its dockyard roots, and Charlton Athletic were, they were Charlton Athletic. Even beyond the East End, in nearby North London, there were other teams like Arsenal, who were rapidly rising to dominance under Herbert Chapman, and Tottenham Hotspur. So, despite that humongous stadium and strong financial backing, it had no long-standing community ties, essentially no fan base of its own, and was asking Cockneys to change their allegiances to a brand new team. As well as this, the stadium itself, designed for racing of course, had a huge oval track around the pitch, meaning spectators were pretty far away from the on-field action, something that West Ham United would pay homage to a century later, when they moved to the London Stadium. Despite the hurdles, Thames AFC began competitively enough. In their inaugural 1928-1929 season in the Southern League Eastern Division, the team finished a modest 14th. The following season, the Thamesmen improved dramatically and finished 3rd. This relative on-field success emboldened Thames's backers. Sensing an opportunity, they applied to the Football League for election into the 3rd Division South for the 1930-1931 season. The league's members were clearly impressed by the new club's progress, humongous stadium, and, in a somewhat unexpected outcome, they voted Thames AFC into the Football League pipping Aldershot by a single vote, replacing Merthyr Town for the upcoming season. The promotion to the Football League 3rd Division South fulfilled the owners' grand plan. Now Thames would be hosting well-known league teams, which they hoped would draw the East End crowds. Optimism was high in the boardroom. The club spent thousands of pounds overhauling the pitch to bring up to standard, and the ground's facilities were already modern for the time. One visitor, writing for a Luton Town fanzine, wrote, "The general equipment, dressing rooms, offices, indeed everything is splendid, and I like the place far better than Highbury." Oh well, mate, chill out. A large modern stadium and a ticket to the league seems like a recipe for success. Unfortunately, these hopes would be swiftly and cruelly dashed by reality. Once in Division 3, Thames AFC discovered just how little local support they really had. From the very beginning of the 1930-1931 campaign, home attendances were disappointingly low, typically only a few thousand at best in a ground built for many, many times that number. The few attendees that had showed up were swallowed up in a sea of empty terraces and old ripped-up betting slips. Fans in East London didn't flock to West Ham Stadium as the owners had envisioned, which was fairly understandable given their league form. Despite starting strongly in their first 2 home games, a 4-1 win against Walsall and a 3-0 win over local rivals Clapton Orient, the team soon slumped. By the time Luton Town visited on December 6, 1930, for what would become the infamous 469 spectator game, Thames had won only 3 of their first 16 league matches. If the team's performances didn't put people off on that fateful day in December 1930, then the weather certainly did. Thick fog descended on West Ham Stadium for Thames AFC's match with Luton Town, so much of it that it kept fans well away, fearing that if the game was to go ahead, they wouldn't be able to see anything anyway given how far away they were from the pitch. Thames's club secretary said, "It is remarkable that they, the fans, cannot be weaned from the idea that as we are so close to the river, there must be fog here on days like this." Thames AFC did end up at least winning this record-setting match 1-0, though I'm not sure anyone in the crowd knew given the visibility. Ah well, if things weren't so good at home, at least they had away games to look forward to. Oh, wait, their away form was even worse. Oh, that's a shame. Over the entire 1930 to 1931 season, Thames AFC's away record read 1 win, 1 draw and 19 losses. A bit pants. They finished their first season in the 3rd Division South in 20th place out of 22 clubs. It was a close call as only the bottom 2 clubs faced re-election. Thames narrowly survived as Newport County and Norwich were even more. Off the field, the warning signs were flashing as well. The image of a nearly empty 120,000-seater stadium was getting mocked in the papers. The club's income from great receipts was nowhere near enough to offset expenses, and by late 1931, Thames faced severe financial strain. Despite players taking a pay cut to help balance the books, Thames still needed bigger crowds to stay afloat, but bigger crowds wouldn't come without better results. The club tried everything to draw fans in, but in a pre-Twitter football memes world, there were only so many ads that the club could put up in the local paper. If the 1930 to 1931 season was worrying, the 1931-32 season proved terminal for Thames AFC. The team's league performance went from bad to in the bin. They finished the season rock bottom, 5 points adrift of Gillingham Town. Given how they'd stunk up the place, re-election to the Football League didn't exactly seem a likely outcome. Sensing the inevitable, the Thames directors acted even before the Football League's annual meeting. They decided to sack the whole football thing off entirely. In the summer of 1932, Thames AFC formally withdrew from the Football League and disbanded the club, ending the experiment after just 2 league seasons in the 3rd Division, and Thames AFC faded into obscurity. The grand West Ham Stadium outlived its football team by decades, but it never again hosted professional football. There was talk of a merger with Clapton Orient, which had faced its own financial problems, and for a brief moment it looked as though Orient could play at West Ham Stadium. Ultimately though, they decided to remain independent, and would later move to Leyton in 1937. After 1932, the stadium's owners returned their full focus to the sports that had always drawn crowds there: greyhound racing and speedway. The West Ham Hammers, not to be confused with the other Hammers, West Ham United, drew huge weeknight audiences for years to come, and became British Speedway champions in 1937 and 1965. By the early 1970s, however, the stadium was reaching the end of its life. In 1971, Newham Council announced that West Ham Stadium would be sold for redevelopment, and in 1972, the stadium was sold to housing developers. The famous Hammers Speedway team shut up shop soon after, and the final greyhound meet took place on May 26, 1972, before the doors of the Grand Stadium closed for good. Thames AFC was an attempt to build it and they will come, a philosophy that has tempted many, with mixed results. For every Chelsea, Liverpool or Sheffield United, there's a Thames AFC or a New Brighton Tower FC. But that one's a story for another day. Today, Thames AFC exists only in the odd Football Manager database and in the record books, filed under lowest attendance for a Football League match. Though, to be honest, even this is disputed. On the 5th of February 1974, Rochdale met Cambridge United on a Tuesday afternoon, in a game that officially drew 588 spectators, though the attendance is sometimes reported to be as low as 450. Only 13 paying spectators showed up on the 7th of May 1921 to watch Leicester versus Stockport County at Old Trafford. The caveat here being that the game immediately followed a match between Manchester United and Derby County, and a couple of thousand spectators decided to stay behind to watch essentially a free game. Despite this, the 4-6-9 game still lives on in infamy, and has come to epitomise the existence of Thames AFC. Proof that football isn't about how big your ground is, or how nice the stadium hospitality is. It's about people, and if you don't have them, you've just got a very large, very quiet, soulless concrete bowl of nothingness.